Humans are obsessed with the idea of contacting alien life. We literally build massive radio telescopes and just point them at the empty sky. We send golden discs into the infinite abyss with dozens of languages or dozens of greetings in different languages just in case someone out there finds them. We spend entire careers and entire government budgets on one single hope, that we are not alone in this universe. And that says a lot more about us as humans than it says about the universe. Because underneath the science and everything that we have done under the terms of exploration or discovery, there is something a little bit more selfish going on here. We don't just want to see if we are alone. We want the validation of being seen. And in fact, we also want to not only be seen, but we also want to be measured against. And also in this measure, we are hoping that this measure benefits us. But here is the question that not many people ask themselves. Even if we actually did make contact, what on earth makes us think that we'd be able to communicate? And even if we actually were able to communicate, what makes us think that whatever is on the other side either wants to talk with us or sees us as something that is worth talking to? Today's book answers all these questions in the most unsettling way I have ever encountered. Let's talk about Solaris by Stanisław Lem. Hello, my gorgeous viewers and readers. Welcome back and welcome if you're new. As many of you know, I am a sucker for horror. Anything that is horror themed or any books that are within that genre, you know that I will enjoy them. In fact, many of my reviews come from horror stories. But ever since I read the 3 Body Problem series by Liu Cixin, I have been completely obsessed with sci-fi horror. Honestly, that subgenre scratches an itch that nothing else can quite reach. So when I went to my local Waterstones and I saw Solaris and I read the back, I knew that this was a book for me, and honestly, it did not disappoint. Solaris by Stanisław Lem has been considered as one of the foundational texts for sci-fi, but more specifically for sci-fi horror, which I had no idea until I picked this book up. And honestly, after reading it, it makes so much sense. But I have to be completely honest with you guys. Reading this book is not for the weak because it has been a horrifying experience. Not in the jump scare way, but in a slow, very tantalizing and very horrifying way that I will try my best to describe. So without further ado, let's start. Just as a quick summary, Solaris follows Kelvin, a psychologist who just arrives at a research station orbiting the planet Solaris, a world that is almost entirely covered by a single strange sentient ocean. For decades, researchers have been trying to understand this ocean, whether it's actually alive, or it's actually intelligent, or even sentient, or even if it can communicate with humans. And even after years of research and after years of theories, humans are no closer to the main idea. They don't really know anything about this ocean apart from the fact that it behaves strangely. It behaves like nothing they have ever seen before, and it doesn't even follow the laws of physics. But when Kelvin arrives to the station, he realizes that he has bigger fish to fry than looking at the ocean, because one of the 3 researchers that were living in that station actually passed away in very strange ways. And also the other 2 that are there are behaving very erratically and clearly hiding something. But it doesn't take long for Kelvin to realize what is going on here and why are these people behaving so strangely. So what the ocean is doing is manifesting physical visitors. So what this ocean does is it takes all your memories of a person and then renders flesh and then delivers these flesh with these memories to the person individually. So for Kelvin, for example, the ocean creates a clone of his dead wife that passed away because of suicide 10 years ago, and then literally delivers this clone to Kelvin's room. That is why the other two crewmates are also behaving strangely, because they also have clones. And the thing here is that it is very clear that Kelvin knows that he is not hallucinating or that he is not inventing things, because not only this clone of his wife doesn't have certain memories that are specific to his wife. So for example, this clone doesn't know how she passed away or why she committed suicide in the first place, but also the rest of the crewmates not only see this clone, the wife's clone, but also they have their own personalized clone, their own personalized person or individual that comes from their own memories. So they all three know that this is the ocean's doing and it's not them hallucinating anything. What makes this book so quietly devastating and horrifying is the fact that this story isn't about an alien at all. It's a story about the limits of human understanding. In here, we are forced to watch our own species fail at the one thing that we desire most. This book actually raised three questions that I think are essential when we talk about alien life or contacting someone or something that is outside our worldly realm. So the first thing is we need to look at our place in the universe. The second is to see how we can actually communicate and actually make ourselves understood and understand this population or civilization. And last but not least, the narcissist desire that we have to be understood and to be seen and compared. Starting with the first point, which is our place in the universe. So there are thousands, if not millions, of theories whether aliens exist, whether they don't, whether we have been contacted already. There are many, many theories, but my favorite has to be the Fermi paradox. So for those who don't know, the paradox is deceptively simple. So if we look at the sheer size and age of the universe, just based on statistics, we would say, or we could assume, that intelligent life should be common. We should have thousands of Earth-like planets that have any sort of intelligent life. But the paradox here asks, if there is a possibility, or if the statistics say that we should, that intelligent life should be common, where is everybody? The Fermi paradox is very complex. It touches many different topics. So obviously intellectual evolution, biological evolution, and even the evolution of civilizations. But what I see in this book that reminded me of this paradox very clearly was the fact that even when we actually contact, or when we actually are in front of something that resembles intelligent life, that doesn't mean that this intelligent life will be reachable, because we are completely different. And this book, just like the Fermi paradox, makes us sit with the uncomfortable idea of how small humanity actually is, but also how unreachable we also are. Because we always have this fantasy that we will be at the start of the first contact. We will be the ones asking the questions and just being the ones that observe. But these books, Solaris specifically, we get the other side of the coin. We are the ones that are being observed, the ones that are being probed, and the ones that are clearly not communicating because we are not intelligent enough. Now, the second point I want to make is about the communication itself. And here is where I think humanity is extremely gullible, because we always are under the assumption of two things. First off, that the communication will be similar in some sort of way, meaning that the individual or the creature or whatever it is that is on the other side of the communication will communicate in a similar way. Either, for example, by a language that we don't understand, like Klingons, for example, or that it perceives the world in an animal sort of way. So either like humans, so obviously we have the senses, or like mammals or birds, and that we in some way can translate this language. And then the second point is that we also are under the assumption that these other whatever or these other creatures will also want to communicate, are also receptive to communication, are adaptable, and they want this communication to happen. And Solaris, this book completely dismantles this idea, because if we look into the book, the ocean isn't actually hostile, or the planet itself is not hostile. It actually tries to communicate with Kelvin and with the other researchers. We see how it is trying to create all these figures and all these statues, and it is trying to do all these maths and all these things that defy the laws of physics, just as a way to try to communicate with the humans. But the humans cannot understand for the life of them what this sentient being is actually saying. And even when we see Kelvin actually going into the ocean, well, he doesn't go into the ocean, but he is like near the ocean, we see how there is a moment where both entities, both creatures, are actually trying to understand each other. But the gap is just too vast, and it's too far for any of them to actually comprehend what the other one is saying or even thinking. So now point 1 and point 2 guide me to a third point, which I personally think cuts the deepest, and it's our anthropomorphic narcissism. Humanity has spent the last 100,000 years climbing the ladder of evolution, especially intellectual evolution, and it shows. We have built entire cities, split atoms, we have mapped our own genome, and we have even sent things and people to other worlds, so to the moon and to Mars. So all these accomplishments, no matter how impressive they are, have also given us the pervasive belief that we are the pinnacle of evolution, that no one else can do it better. And look, if we actually measure ourselves against every single species that we have ever seen on Earth, it is clear that this statement holds up. We are, in every single sense of the word, the dominant species of this planet. No other species is at the level that we are. I don't see a lion actually creating, I don't know, Apollo 11, for example, or I don't see flies or funguses or anything creating things to the level that we have. But that is exactly the trap, because all the comparisons that we have made are compared to species that we already know that we are superior to. So obviously, if we compare ourselves with monkeys, monkeys have nothing to do against us, right? But then we have exactly zero data of how good our evolution is if we compare ourselves to a species that is either equal to us or even far more unsettling, that is superior to us. We have no recollection, or we have no idea of how good we are as a species or how evolved we are, because we simply haven't found a single species or a single material or creature that is either equal or superior. And this book actually makes us sit with this confrontation, because the ocean doesn't try to fight humanity. It doesn't try to confront it. It actually barely tries to communicate with us. And then when it sees that it's not being successful, then it just abandons this effort and this communication. And that is far more upsetting, because if a species or a creature is trying to fight you, that means that it views you as an equal. That means that it views you, or it views humanity as a threat. But if something is trying to communicate with you and then sees that there is no point on making this effort, that means that that entity or that creature is viewing you as less than them. It's actually viewing you as something that is inferior. And that feels incredibly upsetting, and also hurts our own narcissism, because lack of interest means that we are not worth the effort. If another species or another creature doesn't try to communicate with us, looks at us, observes us, but then just decides that we are not worth it, that means that everything that we've been fighting so hard for. So all the evolution that we have made, all everything that we have done, all the advancements were worth nothing. And that is really the thesis of this book, what contact would actually look like. I don't think it would be a diplomatic summit between species, or I don't think it would be a shared language that we create through patience and goodwill. I don't even think that humans would be truly capable of understanding another alien species, not because we are not trying or because we wouldn't want to try, but because understanding is actually a truly human experience or a truly human concept. We can only understand others because we share some sort of human history, human biology, and also human culture. Because the thing here is that there is no guarantee that our framework of existence as a species could actually be shared with any other species, not only in this world, but also in any other worlds that exist in this vast universe, because the way we interact with time, with memories, with physics and biology is extremely unique. So I don't think that we could actually understand each other no matter how much we tried. What I like the most about this book is that Solaris doesn't give us a villain. It doesn't even give us an alien in the true sense of the word. What this book gives us is actually our reflection. And it's the fact that when we have our first contact, if we ever have it, we will not have wars or friendships. What we will have is profound, permanent incomprehension. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for staying until the end. Before you go, I have a question to ask you guys, especially for those who like sci-fi or who like cosmic horror. And the question is, what is the most realistic depiction of a first contact that you have seen in any media, in films, series, or books? I would love to learn and read more about this topic. So please make sure that you put your recommendations in the comments. And also, before you go, if you like this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel. And you can also follow me on my social media. I post that every day, and I post a lot of content regarding Solaris or any of the books that I read. But yeah, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope I will see you next week. Bye, guys.